Hi, I'm Rocky Lhotka. I'm chair of Cloud and Containers Live at Live 360, and I'm also a co-chair for VS Live. And so I work with the team of other co-chairs and chairs to select all the speakers and topics that we hope you'll enjoy and get a lot out of when you're at the show. Cloud and Containers Live is focused very much on uh, anything to do with cloud. So, that means development and it means DevOps and it means IT infrastructure, primarily focused on Azure this year at least. And I hope that folks that come to the show are able to walk away with a better understanding of where we stand in the modern cloud and how you can best use the cloud to meet your requirements for your applications, for your enterprise, for your business requirements, and balance that against any sort of on-premises type infrastructure that you have. I think we're, for the most part, past the days of building any sort of application that targets just one operating system. I mean, yeah, there are exceptions, but by and large, most of us, it seems, are building applications that need to run basically anywhere on any device. And Blazor is a really great technology to do this because Blazor works in any modern browser on any device and also can be used to create native applications, especially when paired with MAUI. MAUI itself is a successor to Xamarin and allows you to create native applications. And if you like XAML, MAUI is definitely the way to go in terms of building those applications. But if you like HTML and CSS and kind of prefer the web model for things, the MAUI Blazor hybrid gives you the ability to build native apps using Blazor. And at the same time, you can use that Blazor app to expose a web front end that works in any browser anywhere. So it's, I think, an incredibly compelling story in terms of the technology for the kinds of apps that most of us are building today. A lot of folks, as they approach Blazor, are kind of confused, and I think with good reason, because it is a .NET technology, and yet it focuses on the web. And a lot of folks are like, oh, isn't that, how does that compare to Angular or React? And of course, it's a direct competitor to those. But beyond that, and I think this is the kind of fun part, is it's also a great way to migrate forward legacy Windows Forms or WPF or web forms applications into modern technology with modern user experiences and still have all the benefits of .NET. I still think there's a big lack of understanding, I guess, that modern .NET runs on Linux. And in fact, it runs really, really well on Linux. And what this means is that when you think about containers, I think you should primarily be thinking about Linux containers. Windows containers are great for running legacy workloads from .NET Framework, but if you're building .NET apps today and deploying them into containers and into Kubernetes, really you should be looking at the built-in functionality that Microsoft has provided to target Linux containers and deploy them just easy and run everywhere. It's a really, really fantastic story. You know, my crystal ball is as good as anybody else's when it comes to this. Uh, I really am very excited about Blazor, and I think Blazor has a great deal of promise. And for a .NET developer, is really a natural fit for building modern user experiences across all sorts of platforms. And uh, I think when you combine it with MAUI to create MAUI Blazor hybrids, that's a really compelling story. Uh, I don't know that either one of them are going to surprise anybody because I think they're both moving forward at a pretty steady pace, evolving very nicely. Uh, when it comes to Kubernetes, you look at that technology, and I think the big barrier for all of us is the complexity that comes with Kubernetes. And so I do think there, what we'll see is an increase in the amount of abstractions and the use of AI to simplify deployment and management of Kubernetes clusters, combined with features like we see in Azure, where Microsoft is providing some very nice abstractions for Kubernetes. So we can think at a higher level as application developers and architects, and maybe not worry so much about all the detailed plumbing and connections that happen behind the scenes. When it comes to AI, I think there's several different vectors or angles that you can think about. And one of them, obviously, is using Copilot, GitHub Copilot, as developers to accelerate your work. And that can be really compelling if used well. If you put too much responsibility on the AI, it can start to go sideways pretty quickly. But it's also, I think, a big mistake not to think about using AI in terms of DevOps and operational management. Like I said, with Kubernetes clusters, I think it's a big deal. And obviously, all of us need to be thinking about how AI can be incorporated into our apps so that end users can benefit from the services that are provided. And I think this means really rethinking business workflows, traditional data entry forms, and a lot of things where uh, there's a lot of busy work for our end users that maybe we can automate or at least streamline by building some AI capabilities directly into our apps. The beauty of Live 360 is there's such an array of options for everybody across AI and .NET and cloud, and it goes on and on. And ideally, if you go with a team of colleagues, you can divide and conquer. Sit and do a little planning ahead of time and figure out who's going to go to where, and then compare notes afterwards. If you do have to go by yourself, again, I think the key is to do some planning, figure out what sessions are most compelling at any given time, and select that. And also, don't be afraid to switch in the middle. If you go into a session and realize that it's not quite what you thought it was, have a backup. So plan ahead, so you can say, oh yeah, this isn't quite what I thought it was. I'm going to switch to a different room. And then finally, I would say, beyond just the sessions and that sort of thing, is take advantage of the opportunities to converse with the speakers. We've got lunchtime where you can sit at different tables with speakers and have conversations. There's dine arounds and a variety of opportunities, not least of which is just hallway conversations where you can talk to speakers, ask your questions, kind of just interact. And our speakers love that. That's part of why they're there, is to have those sorts of conversations. When I think about the cloud today, it's a lot different than even a few years ago. We're at a point now, I think, where the cloud has definitely matured. I think we're past any sort of hype curve, and there's a good understanding of where the public cloud provides benefit in terms of functionality, value, cost. And also, I think it's clear at this point that there is still a role for your own data centers and having on-premises servers and even local clouds running Kubernetes or other capabilities in your own data centers. And So I think when we look forward over the next 18 months, uh, that's just going to continue to be the trend. And I think we're settling into a really nice pattern or rhythm where we're starting to get a good understanding of which workloads should run in a public cloud, which ones should run in our own servers, and how to connect the two. And so, uh, just continued maturization and use of the cloud in a productive way.